CBS News national security contributor Sam Vinograd joins us now. And Sam, I understand, well, you broke some news for CBS News as well. Can you tell us what you're learning from your sources about the vehicle?
Yes, I'm learning that the vehicle may not have belonged to the actual suspect. So there has been a lot of theorizing on social media about whether this vehicle crossed the southern border at some point and what its origins were. But at this point, we are not able to confirm that the vehicle actually belonged to the suspect. So naturally, law enforcement at this time is tracing the registration on the vehicle and looking at who the actual owner is. It's very possible that this vehicle was stolen or rented or lent by someone. Right now, that is all being done through a centralized structure that the FBI is overseeing, with the FBI being the lead in these investigations, and I've worked a ton of them with the Bureau. There is now a structure in place whereby federal, state, and local officials are coordinating on every aspect of this investigation, Lindsay. The FBI is leading, but state and local authorities are going to be working the scene, collaborating with the FBI, and gathering as much information as possible about the vehicle, about the weapon, and about the suspect himself.
Sam, CBS News has also learned the truck that plowed through the crowd appeared to be flying a large black flag from the rear bumper. This is according to CBS News reviews of images of the truck. And law enforcement sources tell CBS News investigators are probing whether the flag is an ISIS flag or possibly tied to another foreign terror organization. We also know it remains unclear if this person acted alone or with others. And a person familiar with the investigation told CBS News at this point, neither ISIS nor any other foreign terror organization has claimed responsibility for the attack. But what will law enforcement be doing, both in terms of analyzing this flag and analyzing what other information they can glean from this suspect about a possible motive?
Well, I will tell you, as part of any terrorism-related investigation, authorities typically work to see whether there's any foreign terrorism nexus or any domestic terrorism nexus. That can be either that a suspect was directly in touch with the terrorist organization, foreign or domestic, or inspired by them. I will note that there have been a series of ISIS-inspired vehicular attacks in the past, so this does have the trademarks of ISIS-inspired and ISIS-directed tactics. At the same time, we don't yet know whether this was actually an ISIS flag, but we understand law enforcement is investigating that. But it is routine as part of a terrorism investigation for authorities to look for whether there is any terrorism-related nexus to a foreign terrorist organization or a domestic terrorist organization. They certainly do that based on any paraphernalia, insignia, language that's on the suspect's person, the suspect's assets, the suspect's vehicle, at the suspect's residence or where the suspect was staying, in addition to scrubbing the suspect's social media and devices, including their phone. So that is all likely underway. Of course, if there was a flag with ISIS emblems or ISIS rhetoric on there, that would certainly be a very significant clue, but we're still waiting to confirm that detail.
And Sam, I'm just going to ask you about some more information that we're getting into our newsroom. So two sources familiar with the investigation tell CBS News the deceased suspect was wearing body armor. And an investigative reporter with our affiliate WWL confirms from scene sources that the gun described as a long gun had a silencer, or more specifically, a suppressive device. What do those two facts tell you?
Those two facts really solidify the notion that this individual pre-planned this attack. This was not a spur of the moment, spontaneous action by the suspect. The suspect had a weapon, or many weapons, a vehicle, and at least one gun, and we're hearing as well improvised explosive devices, and body armor, such that the suspect could essentially do as much damage as possible while shielding himself from any incoming fire. So all of these details point to the fact that this was a carefully planned attack. I will be waiting to hear whether we learn if the suspect visited the site prior to the attack itself to scope the scene, to try to ascertain how to get around vehicular barriers, how to try to evade law enforcement. But overall, this looks like a premeditated and carefully planned attack. What we don't know is if this individual acted alone, had any accomplices, any co-conspirators, and whether there are any other attacks that may be related that are due to unfold in the coming hours. So while authorities work to neutralize the threat from this attack, they are likely trying to ascertain whether there are any related threats and whether the suspect was in touch with anyone else directly, and or whether this attack could inspire others to act as well in copycat attacks.
To that particular point you just said, whether the suspect acted with anybody, how will law enforcement begin to glean that information?
Law enforcement will be running the individual's identity if the individual has a license on them or some form of identification, and if not, the suspect's fingerprints or other biometric information through criminal databases to see if this individual has any sort of criminal history. They will be reviewing the individual's communications, whether it be on social media, likely getting a warrant for the suspect's phone, any other devices that may be in the car and or at where the suspect was staying, if they can piece that together. They will be interviewing the suspect's acquaintances and family. That does take time, and looking for any form of communication this individual may have had with others. That work does sometimes take time. Unfortunately, warrants are involved, as well as a series of other law enforcement tactics in chat rooms and on social media. So we should not necessarily expect an answer on that immediately.